ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence software that can respond to you and understand you like a human being. It can do things like write a poem about a frustrated law student studying for their final exams, or it can tell you a joke about contract law. And apparently it can even pass law school exams and the Watson-Glaser test. In this video, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on ChatGPT and AI more generally, and how I think it can change the world of work for law. If you're new here, my name's Idin. I'm a corporate lawyer and a New York qualified attorney. I make videos about my experience as a lawyer, application process and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, consider subscribing. I also run a newsletter called LITTLELAW and an online community called Flow Huddle. Both of these are aimed at aspiring lawyers. Do check them out if you think you'll be interested. They're both linked in the description of this video. Now, a lot of people think that if ChatGPT can do something better than the human lawyer can do, then we're replacing lawyers completely. But that's just not the case. ChatGPT can do loads of things that I can do better than me, and it can do it better than any human lawyer at all. And these are the sort of things that I think we should just be handing over to the AI anyway. It can do research on specific topics really quickly. Here's an example of me asking it a question about the UK scheme called SEIS, which helps investors save money on tax when they're investing in early stage companies, and it gave me the answer. The software can summarize long pieces of text quickly and pretty accurately. Here's an example of me giving it an entire news article, and it just gives me back a summary, pretty short and again, pretty much spot on. It can also write letters and legal documents too, way faster than I can or any human being can. Here I've asked it to write an employment agreement, and I'm not an employment lawyer, I haven't looked at it in depth, but at first glance it looks like a decent first draft. And these are the sorts of things that I think will be inevitably passed over to AI. It's just better than any human being will ever be at this sort of thing. Now, some people argue that if you get an AI to do the legal research for you or write the first draft for you, you'll learn these very important skills of being a lawyer. But I don't really buy that argument, because over time, technology changes and the way that we work changes along with it. Years ago, you'd have needed good penmanship or handwriting to be a lawyer, because people would have written stuff by hand, and if you couldn't read your handwriting, that would have been an issue. But nowadays, technology's moved on, and I can go my entire career without anyone seeing my handwriting, and you could have the worst handwriting in the world, it's not going to impede you. We might have lost the art of penmanship in this shift in technology, but in the end, moving to digital has more benefits than it has downsides, and it's generally the right way to go. Using AI will be no different. There'll be skills that people are expected to do now that you'll be less proficient in going forward, but that's okay. What will happen is that there'll be new skills that you'll have to be good at to be a effective modern lawyer. And by this, I mean prompting the AI and giving it the instructions that you need to give it for it to do what you want it to do. I played around with ChatGPT for a while, and there's definitely a skill to telling it what you want. And that will probably be a new legal skill that any effective modern lawyer will be expected to have in this world of AI. So we've established that some things it can do better than a human lawyer, but that doesn't mean that it's going to replace human lawyers anytime soon. Whenever new tech comes along, that question comes up again and again. Is the tech trying to replace the human lawyer? And that's just the wrong way to think about it. Tech like ChatGPT should not be thought of as someone who's coming to take your job. It should be thought of as a very, very capable and helpful colleague. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. ChatGPT says so itself. And the reason it's not taking your job is that there are aspects to being a lawyer that an AI cannot do. Firstly, there's a real human side to being a lawyer. For any client, speaking to a human being is going to be more reassuring and more comforting than speaking to an AI or getting a text response from a bot. Think of it in the same way that if you're talking to a company, let's say to buy car insurance or change a flight booking, and you're talking to a automated telephone robot machine, that's not going to be as comforting as if you got through to a human being and you knew there's a person on the other end of the line with a real name and a real email address, even if the two gave you the same response. Whatever happens, you feel better hearing it from a human being, and that's no different to law firm clients. The second reason AI cannot immediately replace lawyers right now is that law isn't all black and white. There are elements of experience and human judgment that only someone who's been there and seen it can help with. So for example, in a corporate deal, you might have negotiated against that opposite lawyer many times, so you know an efficient way of getting to a good middle point for your client. Or in litigation, maybe you have familiarity with this specific type of case, or this judge, or this setting, something that the AI cannot have, and you use this to develop a strategy to best protect your client. These sorts of things are human judgments, and AI can't replicate them, at least not for now anyway. Finally, another simple issue is that lawyers pretty much all over the world have to be licensed or admitted and are regulated in some sort of way before you can start practicing as a lawyer. The AI probably won't be able to get over that hurdle now, and as a result, it's best placed just staying as the lawyer's sidekick as opposed to trying to replace any lawyers. Now, we've talked about the benefits of AI and the fact that it's not going to replace you, but there are still issues with AI like ChatGPT, at least in its current form. The main issue is the issue of provenance, or not knowing what sources it's used. If I were doing a piece of research myself, I do the research and keep track of my sources. When I present the research, I'll put my sources somewhere in there so the person reading it can see what I've relied on, and if they need to, check my sources to see that my research has understood them correctly and reflected them in the right way. Now, ChatGPT is trained on a vast amount of information, and when it gives you an answer, if you push it for sources, it sometimes won't be able to give them to you, which means that you're left having to just trust its answer without being able to check it. For me as a lawyer, if I was giving this answer to a client, that would worry me and I wouldn't want to do that. Another issue, at least with ChatGPT specifically, is the issue of confidentiality and security. Currently, what you put on ChatGPT is not confidential, and the company that run ChatGPT, OpenAI, have said that they're using what you send into ChatGPT and the interactions you have with it to train ChatGPT and just improve the product. So as a lawyer right now, if you wanted to use it to help you, you can probably ask it some general things and get a steer in the right direction, but you won't be able to use it to its full capability right now because that would require you to give confidential information to it, which you won't be able to give right now. The final issue with AI like ChatGPT is that tech adoption in law is hard. Changing the way that anyone works is a challenge, and even if the solution is way better than the current way people do things, there'll still be friction in getting people to try new ways of working. Take DocuSign or e-signatures, for example. This is technology that means that someone can send you a document and you can just sign from your phone or computer. It's completely valid. But while this technology existed for a long time, like many years, law firms didn't really use it until the pandemic, until they had to use it because there was physically no way to get into the same room as the person you had to sign the documents with. So you can see, even in instances where the new tech is so much better than the old tech, which in this case e-signatures is way better than everyone having to be in the same place and using wet ink signatures and you can't really track who's done what, this technology adoption takes time. And that's what I think will be the biggest challenge of using AI in law firms. Even if we solve all the other hurdles like provenance and confidentiality, which I think will be solved, changing the way people are used to working is really difficult. And for me, this will be the hardest thing that law firms who want to use AI will have to face. A final point I want to address is that AI is not perfect. I've asked ChatGPT to do things and it's done it wrong. But I don't like this as a criticism of the technology itself. And that's because people have asked me to do things in my job and I've done it wrong as well. In my experience, people are more forgiving of a human being making a mistake than a technology. And just because it does make the occasional mistake doesn't mean that you should be throwing out all the value that it brings. The things it can do better and faster than any human being, and over time it will only improve. When I've played around with ChatGPT, even if the output isn't perfect, it's still a good starting point that will save you a lot more time than starting from scratch. So that brings us to the end of this video on ChatGPT and how AI more generally can change the way that lawyers work. Whether you're researching for a law firm application or if you're just interested, I hope this video has helped you understand the real world impact of AI in the legal profession. Remember, everything I've said is just my views and I could end up being 100% wrong about everything. But I do think that there are big benefits to AI, and the law firms who manage to really integrate it well will see huge savings in time and money across the firm. So I'm a big supporter of it, and it's even better that it will probably save trainees loads and loads of boring summarizing tasks or note-taking tasks and stuff like that. Let me know your thoughts on this video by leaving a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a comment down below. And I'm going to be putting more similar law related or application related content out too. So if you're interested, do subscribe. For all you aspiring lawyers, I run an email newsletter called Little Law, which you can sign up for free. And I also recently launched an online community called Flow Huddle, where we run co-working sessions and office hours and that sort of thing for people trying to get into law. The links for both of these will be down in the description. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you next time.